Hello everyone and welcome to the Ghost Foundation Engineering. Myself Preeti Singh Patel, Civil Department from Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Technical Education and Research Center, Navsari. So today's topic is problematic soil. As a geotechnical engineer, it is very important to finding out the problematic soil. If the foundation is constructed on like that type of soil, like problematic soil, it causes a damage of the structure and for the foundation. So that's why this topic is very important. Okay. So here is the list of content which I am covering in this lecture. The first, general characteristic of swelling soil, clay mineralogy and mechanism of swelling, identification of expensive soil, treatment, concept of CNC layer like cohesive non-swelling soil, foundation on expensive soil, collapsible soil, its characteristic and treatment for collapsible soil. So let's start. So first of all, what is expensive soil or what is swelling soil? So swelling soils are which are clay soil or also called swelling soil. These soils swell considerably when water is added to them and shrink greatly on drying and develop cracks on the surface. Okay. So when expensive soil swells, cohesion decrease and the variation in the volume of soil is to be extended to 20 to 3% of the original volume. Okay. But a soil whose swelling is inhibited or prevented by a small surcharge load or by more supply of water is not considered as a swelling soil. For example, a sand. Okay, so expensive soil poses a high plasticity index and their liquid limit is not more than a 40% and the plasticity index is more than a 50%. Okay, so black cotton soil is the example of expensive soil or black cotton soil which present or which found in many part of India belong to this category and their color varies from dark gray to black. Okay, so means when these soil comes in the contact with the moisture, this type of soil swells. When the water evaporate, the soil shrinks and cracks, creates a shrinkage crack on the surface. So it is easy to recognize the soil in the field during both the season, either dry or wet season, because the shrinkage cracks are visible on the ground surface during dry season or summer season, and the maximum width of these cracks is up to 20 mm or more, and they travel deep into the ground. Okay, or in winter season or in wet season, these type of soil become very sticky and very difficult to transfer. Okay, because of it these soil have very poor bearing capacity during rainy season or wet season. Okay, so a lump of dry black cotton soil requires a hammer to break during rainy season. Okay, these soil become very sticky and very difficult to transfer this zone, and below this the zone is called a stable zone. Okay, so if the foundation is constructed under the active zone or unstable zone, the foundation may be subjected to a large uplift forces because of causes by a swelling, and because of it heaving and cracking and breaking of a foundation is generated. Okay, so here is the graph for active zone. So the depth in a soil to which periodic changes of moisture content occur is referred to as a active zone. Okay, so what is active zone or unstable zone? The depth in a soil to which periodic changes of moisture content occurs is referred to as a active zone or unstable zone. Means the depth where the moisture change or seasonal changes affect the soil property is known as effective zone or unstable zone or active zone. So Z is your active zone or unstable zone or effective zone depth. Okay. So in active zone in dry season, the water content in dry season, the water content increase with depth and become constant at a certain depth. In wet season, the water content is maximum at the surface. Okay, here is the ground surface, the maximum at the ground surface, and with depth it becomes with and decrease with depth up to the depth of the active zone. So here is the graph which represent the for dry season and for wet season. Here this is your unstable zone, effective zone or active zone, or below that is a stable zone. Okay, so in dry season the water content increase with the depth. So in dry season the water content increase with the depth up to a certain depth. Okay, or in wet season the water content is maximum at the surface and decrease with the depth up to a depth of active zone. Okay. Next, clay mineralogy and mechanism of swelling. So the swelling behavior of soil would depend largely on the type of clay minerals that are present in this type of soil and the proportion of which they are present. Okay, so the clay minerals on the basis of their crystalline arrangement can be divided into three different categories, which is kaolinite group, montmorillonite group, and illite group. Okay. Kaoline groups. The kaoline group of mineral are the most stable group of mineral because kaoline mineral is formed by stacking of alumina sheet over the silica sheet, and the bond between two sheet is strong and the mineral is stable. Because of it, water cannot easily enter between the structural unit and causes expansion, and hence a clay mineral containing kaolin exhibit less swelling on wetting. Okay. Next, montmorillonite group. So the structural arrangement for this group consists of an alumina sheet sandwiched between a two silica sheet. Okay, so between two silica sheet there is a one alumina sheet forming a structural unit, and successive structural units are stacked one over another and joined together by link between oxygen atoms of two silica sheet. So as the bonding between the two silica sheet is weak, water can easily enter and causes swelling. Thus, the swelling contains large amount of mineral. Montmorillonite exhibit high shrinkage and swelling characteristic. For example, black cotton soil contains montmorillonite mineral. Okay. Next, illite minerals. So the illite mineral has the same structural arrangement as the montmorillonite group, but the presence of potassium as a bonding material between two structural units makes the illite mineral swell less. Okay. Next, definition of swelling potential and swelling pressure. So what is swelling potential? A swelling potential or a volume change is defined as the ratio of increase in thickness to the initial thickness of the soil sample compacted at an optimum moisture content in a consolidation ring or a audiometer test and soaked under a token surcharge of 7 kilopascal so that the sample undergoes free swell. Okay. Next, swelling pressure. The swelling pressure is defined as the pressure required for preventing volume expansion in soil in contact with water, and it should be noted here that the swelling pressure measured in a laboratory audiometer is different from that in the field, and the actual field swelling pressure is always less than the ones measured in the laboratory. Okay. So next, the identification of Expensive soil. So the type of clay mineral and its proportion in the soil can be determined in the laboratory by the following method: differential thermal analysis, X-ray diffraction method, and electron microscopic method. Okay. So in differential thermal analysis means DTA method is based on the fact that the certain characteristic reaction take place at a specific temperature for different mineral. Okay, so when these minerals are heated to a high temperature resulting in a loss of gain in a heat. So a specimen of the soil with the unknown mineral is heated continuously along within inherent substance in a electric oven and recorded of change in a temperature of the mineral plotted against oven temperature is obtained. So by comparing this with the available record of several known clay mineral, the type of clay mineral present and its amount can be known by differential thermal analysis. Next method is X-ray diffraction method. So different mineral with different regular pattern of crystalline structure will diffract X-ray to yield different X-ray diffraction pattern. So with that X-ray diffraction pattern of um, common clay mineral being known, it is possible to know which type of mineral are present and what proportion. Okay. In electron microscopic method, the soil is observed under polarized light in a electronic microscopic, and because of it the method requires skill and experience, and certain characteristics, stain, etc. are indication of the nature of the clay mineral present. Okay. So next, the identification of expensive soil. So simple soil property test can be used for the evaluating of the soil potential of expensive soil. So such tests are easy to perform and should be used as routine test in the investigation of building site in those areas having expensive soil. So these are the tests: free swell test, differential free swell test, and swelling pressure test. Okay. So in free soil test, first we have to take the soil sample, okay, and then that soil sample pass through the 425 micron sieve, and then that sample is poured into a 100 centimeter graduated cylinder filled with the water. Okay, so that the volume of settled soil is measured after the 24-hour, and which gives the value of free soil of the soil sample. So here is the equation where SF is the free soil, VF is the initial dry volume of the poured soil, okay, and it's soil sample, okay, and VF is the final volume of settled soil, and VI is the initial dry soil volume of a poured soil. And then by putting the values in this equation, we can find out the next differential free soil test. So in differential free soil test, first we have to take two soil sample, okay, of 10 gram of each, and then passing this soil sample through for 425 micron sieve, and then oven dry. Then each soil sample pour into a gradual glass cylinder of capacity 100 ml. Okay. Then in one graduated glass cylinder, pour distilled water, and another one in kerosene oil. Okay, then remove entrapped air by gently shaking or stirring with a glass rod. Allow to suspension to attain the state of equilibrium for not less than 24 hours, and after 24 hours the final volume of soil in each of the cylinders should be read out. Okay, so after that, the putting the value in this equation, you can finding out the differential free swell. Okay, where VD is the volume of soil specimen read from the graduate cylinder containing distilled water. VK is the volume of the soil sample read from the graduated cylinder containing kerosene. Okay. So next, swelling pressure test. So swelling pressure can be defined as the maximum force per unit area required to be placed over a swelling soil to prevent volume increase. Okay, so swelling pressure is very useful index of the trouble potential of an expensive soil, and the swelling pressure can be determined by two different methods: conventional consolidation method and constant volume method. So in conventional consolidation method, the specimen is placed in an audiometer under a small surcharge of about 7 kilonewton per meter square, and then water is added to the specimen, allowing it to swell and reach an equilibrium position after some time. So now pressure on the specimen is gradually increased and the specimen is allowed to consolidation. Okay, so the stress required to compress the sample to its original height is commonly termed as the zero volume change swelling pressure. Okay, next, constant volume method. So in the constant volume test can be conducted by taking a specimen in a consolidation ring and then applying a pressure equal to the effective overburden pressure, which is sigma naught, and plus the anticipated surcharge causes by the foundation, which is sigma s. Then after that water is added to the specimen. So as after water is added, the specimen start to swell and then pressure is applied in a small increment to prevent swelling. Okay, so pressure is maintained until full swelling pressure is developed on the specimen, at which time the total pressure is this. Okay, so where sigma s is the total pressure applied to prevent swelling, sigma naught is the effective overburden pressure, sigma is anticipated surcharge, and sigma 1. So next topic is treatment of expensive soil, because the swelling of soil has two injurious effects on a structure founded on it. One is the reduction is the strength of soil, and second is the movement of structure. So the following measure may be taken to reduce the swelling potential of soil and increase its strength. So first method is, or first preventive measure is replacement of expensive soil. Okay. So replacement of expensive soil is a very simple and easy solution for slab and footing on expensive soil. Okay. So in replacement of expensive soil, to replace the foundation soil with non-swelling soil. Okay, so experience indicate that there is a no danger of foundation movement if the soil consists of 1.5 meter of non-swelling soil underlying by a highly expensive soil. Second method is compaction control. So expensive soil expand very little when compacted at a low density and higher moisture content. So the moisture content of soil should be about 3 to 4% above the optimum moisture content. Next method is pre-wetting of expensive soil. So the purpose of a pre-wetting of is to increase the moisture content of the soil near surface before placement of the structure. And other technique of pre-wetting is ponding to achieve most of the heave before the construction. Okay, so pre-wetting is only useful or most suitable for a highway subgrade. Okay, next treatment for expensive soil is moisture barrier. Okay, so constructing moisture barrier, we can treat the expensive soil. So moisture control methods are applied around the perimeter of the structure. Okay, where the structure has to be where the structure to be constructed. Okay, then the moisture barrier may be vertical or horizontal, but vertical barriers are more effective compared to a horizontal barrier. Okay, so in vertical barrier, a vertical trench about 15 centimeter wide and 1.5 meter deep, and then filled with gravel or lean concrete or lime flash ash, have been found quite effectively moisture barrier. Okay, so the moisture barrier should be supplemented with adequate drainage system. Next treatment for expensive soil is soil stabilization. So using different type of cement and lime have proved useful for soil stabilization. So addition about 5 to 7% of lime reduce the swelling and shrinkage characteristic of expensive soil. Okay, and another method of stabilization of expensive soil is the pressure injection of lime slurry or lime flush as slurry into the soil up to a depth of 4 to 5 meter. Okay, so these are the treatment for expensive soil. Okay, next concept of CNC layer means cohesive non-swelling soil. Okay, so CNC means cohesive non-swelling soil. Mr. Katti had proposed concept of using cohesive non-swelling layer to reduce effect of swelling. Okay, so in CNC concept, the top layer of expensive soil is removed and replaced by a cohesive non-swelling soil layer which was saturated layer. So here is the diagram or image, so you can easily understand the concept of CNC layer. So in this graph, the swelling soil is up to a 3 meter. So according to the concept of CNC layer, the 1 meter depth of the soil is replaced by a CNC layer. Okay, cohesive non-swelling soil. Okay, actually it is necessary to conduct large scale tests to determine the optimum thickness of CNC layer with available CNC material, and for building construction the thickness of the CNC layer below the footing level is kept 1 meter and extending 1 meter beyond the edge of the footing. Okay, so the gravel is a good CNC material, and CNC material may be having cohesion but must not have a swelling or expensive property. Okay. So Mr. Cutter recommend the use of mechanical stabilized mix to be placed on the top of the CNC cushion to make soil strong enough to bear the load. Okay. And different type of CNC material are like gravel and the clay soil that contain less quantity of montmorillonite content. Okay, and the CNC material should be a non-swelling with a maximum swelling pressure of 10 kilonewton per meter square. Okay. Next, consequences of swelling or the effect of swelling. The first is huge moisture content variation from season to season leads to rise and fall of the ground surface. Okay, so because of the moisture variation or because of the seasonal variation, it leads to rise and fall of the ground surface. Second consequence is if the imposed bearing pressure on the foundation by the structure is less than the swelling pressure, the structure is likely to be lifted up locally, which could lead to crack in the structure. Okay, means if the bearing pressure on the foundation is less than the swelling pressure, because of it the structure is likely to be lifted up. Okay, so next consequences, if the structure is built during the wet season, it will definitely experience the settlement during a dry season. Okay, or next floor slab is lifted up typically in an irregular dome shaped pattern or corner down pattern leading to cracking of the floor. Next effect, the footing wall are pushed outward leading to a crack of the end wall of the structures. Okay, so these are the consequences or effect of swelling of soil. Okay. So next topic, foundation on expensive soil. It is necessary to note that the all part of building will not equally be affected by a swelling potential and swelling of the soil. So beneath the center of the building where the soil is protected from sun and rain, the moisture changes are small and soil movement is the least. Okay, and beneath the outside the wall, the movements are greater and damage to building is greatest on the outside wall due to a soil movement. So there three general type of foundation can be constructed in an expensive soil, and they are structure that can be kept isolated from the swelling effect of the soil, then designing of a foundation that will remain undamaged in spite of swelling, and next elimination of swelling potential of soil. Okay, so all three methods are in use either singly or in combination, but the first method, structure that can be kept isolated from the swelling effect of the soil, is here is the following type of the foundation are provided in expensive soil: shallow foundation isolated from full swelling, drilled pier foundation, drilled pier with grade beam, and under reamed piles. Okay, so first method is replacement of the expensive soil or shallow foundation isolated from footing. Okay, so if the soil is only moderate expensive and it has a shallow depth, it is economical to remove the that soil and replace it with a good quality granular fill. Okay, so the granular soil should be properly compacted. Okay, so this figure shows the shallow foundation isolated from swelling. Okay, so, the excavation for the expensive soil is carried out for a width greater than the width of the footing proper, and then generally an extra width of 15 centimeters is excavated on the either. Next type of foundation is drilled pier. So drilled pier are commonly used to resist uplift forces caused by a swelling of soil. Okay. So drilled pier is a large diameter concrete cylinder built into the ground, and for construction of drilled pier, a large diameter hole is drilled into the ground and then subsequently filled with concrete. The difference between the drilled pier and bored pile is basically of the size. Okay. So drill pier when made with an enlarged base are called a belt piers, and when made without an enlarged base are referred as to a straight shaft pier. Okay. So this is the figure of drill pier, and this is the figure for a next under ream pile. So under ream pile is a cast in situ concrete pile having one or more bulb at its lower portion, and this bulb is called as an under ream. Okay, when only one bulb is provided at the bottom of the pile is known as single under ream pile. If more than one if more than one bulb is provided, then it is called double under rim pile. Or when two or more bulb is provided at the bottom of pile, it is known as multiple bulb under rimmed pile. Okay, normally under reamed pile is used for a black cotton soil or for expensive soil where the bearing capacity of the soil is very low and the structure load is very heavy, or in the case of expensive soil where the seasonal changes or moisture changes affect the soil properties, or when the bearing stratum or the hard strata is at a greater depth. In that condition the under ream pile is used. Okay, next topic is collapsible soil. So collapsible soils are unsaturated soil that undergoes a large changes in volume upon saturation, and the sudden and large volume changes may causes considerably structural damages or damages. So the changes in volume may or may not be the result of the application of additional load, and the collapsible soil are also known as metastable soil. So collapsible soils suddenly decrease in volume when it becomes saturated, and actually a collapsible soils are generally alluvial soil, means wind deposit soil, which have low water content and high void ratio in natural state. So what happen when the water content of the soil is increased? The interparticle bond is broken and the soil mass decrease in volume, causing its collapse. Okay, so such soil have a honeycomb type structure in which porous structure is maintained, and most of the collapsible soil are basically cohesionless but they have a very small coating of a clay. Okay, so Lewis deposit are the main collapsible soil of wind deposit. So Lewis has a silt-sized particle with clay coating around the particle to form a bond, and the bond may also be uh, due to the chemical precipitation and leaching by a rain water. Okay, so the deposit having a high void ratio and the low unit weight and are a cohesionless or only a slightly cohesive. Okay, so when the soil becomes saturated, the clay bond is weakened and the soil collapses. And the collapsible soil may also be a residual soil formed by a weathering of parents rock. Okay. So here's the typical collapsible potential test result. Okay, so this test result is from the laboratory test for finding out the magnitude or for estimating the magnitude of collapsible potential of a soil. Okay, so first a sample of an undisturbed soil is cut and fit into the audiometer, and then loads are applied progressively until about 200 kilopascal is reached. Okay. So at this pressure, the specimen is flooded with water for completely saturation and left for a 24-hour. And then the consolidation is carried on its maximum loading, and the result E log P curve plotted from the data obtained is shown in this figure. Okay. So this figure shows the typical collapsible potential of soil. So when it is saturated, its void ratio suddenly decreases, or if a soil specimen at its natural water content is replaced in a consolidometer and the load is applied, this curve is obtained. Okay. So after saturation, the equilibrium void ratio at the same pressure suddenly decreases to this depth, which is delta EC. Okay. So the vertical line, this vertical line represents the collapse of the soil, and this curve is usually consolidation curve when the load is applied to the collapsed soil. Okay. Next topic is, or the last topic, treatment of collapsible soil. So the matter from each of these category have been used, and particularly aspect of each are discussed in the following section. First, induce collapse prior to a construction. Okay. So water convenience structure where foundation wetting after construction is unavoidable. So the most effective method of collapsing soil prior to construction is by surfacely ponding water along the alignment. Okay. So the infiltration well should be used with this method to ensure that the soil becomes wetted to a depth and to accelerate the process of collapse. Okay. So pre-wetting by ponding in conjunction with surcharge loading can decrease the overall time required for collapse to occur. Or in some instance, the embankment for the pond have served as a surcharge load. Sometimes surface sparkling has also been used for pre-wetting, but again infiltration well should be used to speed the process. Okay. Next treatment is decrease foundation pressure. So this method is only effective for concentrated structures sites such as pumping plants or canal structure, but cannot be used for the canal itself. Okay. Next, solidify the soil. So various chemical stabilization techniques have been investigated to mitigate the collapse of soil. So however, none of these have been proven practical for line structures such as canal. So sometimes thermochemical process have also been studied, but only in the laboratory. So use of lime or Portland cement will stabilize the collapsible susceptible soil, but they need to be intimately mixed with the soil and then compacted near optimum water content. Okay. Next method is remove collapse susceptible soil. So In this condition, removal and recompaction of collapsible soil is economical only if they are at a shallow depth, and then only for concentrated structural sites. Okay, and the last method of treatment is densify collapsible soil, not density, densify collapsible soil. So the two methods most often used to densify collapsible soil at the depth are dynamic compaction or vibro compactions. Okay, so in dynamic compaction consists of using a large crane or a tripod to drop large heavy weight from a certain height to densify a low unit weight soil. Okay, and the weight is dropped on a regular grid pattern covering the site, and the depression made by a drop weight are filled with selective material. Okay, and the compaction or vibro compaction techniques make use of large vibro float props suspended from a crane. Then a vibration is produced by eccentric weight inside the prop, which is driven by electric or hydraulic motors. Okay, so here is the method which used for the treatment of collapsible soil. Okay, so this topic is completed here. So today I stop here. If you have any difficulty or any doubt, please free to ask. Okay, thank you.